Good afternoon, world. Moments past noon in Waxahachie, Texas, deep in the heart of the Lone Star State. Today is the 17th of April, and it's the 57th consecutive showing of Grit and Good News. And we're broadcasting live from our palatial studios in downtown Waxahachie in the shadows of the Ellis County Courthouse. And I'm your co host, Jeff Lynch. Our producer, Sam the Man, is here. And beside me, it gives me great pride, pleasure, and honor to introduce your host, my friend, Scott Brooks.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. You're looking awful snazzy.
I tried to get
I'm
a little
telling you,
bit,
I
but
got.
still,
Did you got that off of Fanatics?
I
That
got
shirt.
I got five of those fanatics at once
I
at
just
$30
really,
a throw, and they're just they
you know,
fit
what
right
I
on me.
have. Obviously, well, I know it's obvious, but I like fashion and I like cool
Yeah.
clothes and stuff. And it's amazing that old adage, you get what you pay for, because you really, really do. And that looks sharp. And
Thank you.
whereas if you got that at Walmart, you can I can tell a difference. And sometimes you can get away with cheap stuff looking better, but that looks really sharp.
Thank you
So
very much.
very
And
well
guess
does.
guess
Hello,
what? When,
Terry.
when we get to our five thoughts, that's
You
number
have
one.
oh, do
Number
you?
one is you get what you pay for.
Awesome.
How do
Yeah.
you like that?
All right. So welcome to Grit and Good News. It is Thursday, April the
17,
17th.
and we
It's
will have our 57 conversation.
yeah.
You want to have your short
Yeah, well, we need to. Yeah, I wanted to just say thank you for being here. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday. Uh, we have an
on
order.
all our mediums?
Yeah. All the social, just find the social media platform that you know of, except for the real outlandish ones. No dark web stuff, but the main ones we're on. And under Grit and Good News, we have a format we follow pretty much every show, but the topics obviously change. One of the things we do is we like to give updates on things going on, and to Jeff's credit, we take the number in our of our episode
Episodes,
and equate that to some sports
and
person.
they were hard to find, but I got a story you'll like. But they're in football, that's all getting now out of the linebackers. Now you're
Yeah,
an offensive lineman, obscurity.
yeah.
You did have Ricky Jones from New Orleans, Ricky Jackson. I'm sorry.
Was he a linebacker?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
remember. Yeah,
Okay. And the pitcher Johan Santana.
Johan. I don't.
Johan Santana.
No, I don't remember him.
Okay. Here's my story.
There's the only two you had.
It was sparse,
Yeah,
like
I
Sam
know.
said. It
It's
was
a weird,
sparse.
but I can tell
I
Steve
went, I
Howe, the
went, I went, I
Dodgers.
went to hockey and poured through. I mean, there are some
Yeah,
people I know that other people wouldn't know. It was
yeah. You
nothing.
don't see a 57 in basketball. You don't see a 57 in soccer. You don't see a 57 in anything really but football. You don't see it in hockey.
No.
But Steve Howe
Yeah.
for the Dodgers, as you put it,
What?
loopy, weirdo lefty for way back when was
Yeah.
number 57. I don't even know why I remember that. But anyway,
So here's the story. Joe DiMaggio, he had a hitting streak that went how many games?
56.
56. And he had an offer from Heinz. I- And Heinz is famous for what slogan?
Yeah.
Heinz,
No, it
what's it
was
say on every
ketchup.
bottle of ketchup? It's got this many ingredients. Heinz
57.
57. And that's still the same Heinz that
Yeah.
the Heinz family has Heinz Field, right?
Well, it's not. They had it when the field opened, but it's different. It's Acra something
Is
now.
it Philly or Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh.
It's Pittsburgh. So they had a deal with Joe, an endorsement deal, where if he got to 57 hits, they're going to pay him $10,000, and his streak ended at 56. Now
Yeah.
that is my 57
Go figure. They
story.
hexed him. And one other thing about the 57 in Heinz, that Sammy, I don't know if you'd know this, Jeff may, but on the bottle,
Okay.
just under you got the cap at the neck of the bottle,
Yeah.
there's the wrap,
A band.
a band, yeah. Just underneath that, embossed on the bottle is the
Okay.
number 57.
Okay.
If you, when pouring it out, because it comes out slow, if you hit
T-
that 57, it'll come out
that's the
faster.
sweet spot for
Yeah.
your tap.
hmm
Okay.
The
Okay.
things you didn't know.
Wow. And you heard
So,
it here.
yeah, that you heard
And
it here.
guess what?
Grit and good news.
You didn't pay a dime for
That's
it.
right. Update on some sports stuff. We got the NHL playoffs begin this Saturday. I love hockey, but unlike Jeff, who watches as often as he can and goes to them too, I really only watch hockey at the playoffs because I don't. When it comes to sports, the NBA's playoffs just bore the devil out of me because it's the same sport as I mean, it's obvious it's the same sport, but it's the same kind of thing you see all season.
Yeah.
For me, when the NHL plays its regular season and it transitions to the playoffs, there is a distinct difference
Yep.
in way that the players play, the fans react, the electric, nature of the arenas,
Yeah.
all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
a blast, even
Yeah.
in the early rounds.
Yeah.
And so I am pumped. And the Stars, who lost again last night,
7 in a row to end the season.
oh my goodness. And they're going in to play, I don't know where they played their first game, at
Colorado.
Colorado or at
Well, we had
home.
the better record. It
So
must be
maybe at
us.
home. But those start Saturday, which will be fun. And then the NBA has that dopey play-in tournament. The NBA's lost. They're out in the desert. They have no idea, in my opinion. Their ratings are tanking. Their All-Star game's a joke. Their players are idiots. That you can walk half the court and it not be called. Uh,
Yeah.
and so and now their playoffs have this play-in tournament tomorrow night. The Mavericks
Hmm.
play the Memphis Grizzlies. The winner of that goes to the playoffs and then has to play the
Yeah.
number one team.
Yeah, because you're
I
coming
can
in.
forget who it is.
Because you're coming.
Who would that be? Oh, Oklahoma City. If the Mavericks win, they play a 5-game series against the Thunder. Yeah, and then the real playoffs of the NBA start on Saturday. Who cares?
Right.
So we'll be watching some hockey. And then I wanted to. It's Easter weekend. We mentioned that the other day.
Hmm.
So tomorrow's Good Friday. The sun will be closed, and I hope that most of you, if not all of you watching, are able to have the day off tomorrow. It's a important weekend in the world and the life of people. So uh, that
It's Good
wanted to
Friday.
mention that. Yep, Good
Good Friday.
Friday. Chuck says not looking good for this. No, it's not on a 7-game losing streak. I just don't understand what's happening. Maybe they'll just turn it on. I agree, Chuck, for sure. Also want to talk briefly about the update on the shooting at Elmer. Oh, I
Wi-
never get that right. Wilmer
Wilmer
Hutchins.
Hutchins.
What was that? What Elmer? Did I say Elmer?
He did.
Wilmer Hutchins
Two
High
two
School.
separate towns,
Yeah.
Wilmer and
All
Hutchins,
right. Well, in
both along
Dallas,
I-45,
the same
southeast Dallas.
same high school, exactly the same time last year, had a shooting, and I'll be damned if they didn't have another one this year. A student gets in an unsecured door because another student let him in, or I don't even know if the person that got in was a student, but a student let a guy in, a 17-year-old in with a weapon, and then he starts shooting, starts walking down the hall, starts shooting kids, injures 5. Um, Tuesday. So
There were two separate articles in the front section of the Dallas paper, and the same quote from a school personnel was used both times, and I thought it was incredibly dismissive, beyond dismissive. They
yeah,
said, yes, he did get in through an unsecured door, but it was not during
yeah,
security checking hours.
right.
Period. Like, so that means everything was fine because it didn't happen during. We had no breach in that. It was so dismissive. Oh my
Yeah, I think
gosh.
that's. I was going to just share a couple of things with you from this story of the from the Dallas Morning News yesterday. Tracy Denard Haynes Jr., 17, turned himself in late Tuesday. Got a $600,000 fine. Now we'll see if some whack job judge lowers that uh, by whatever percent they lowered Carmelo Anthony.
Did you say people?
Uh,
25%, and would bring this to 150.
yeah, so we'll see if that happens. But
Did you
what?
say he killed somebody?
No, he
Just injured?
shot 4 of them were shot. One of them was injured, but not as a result of a shot. It says here 3 students between the ages of 15 and 18 were confirmed to have been injured by gunfire. I think that's been up to 4.
Okay.
Uh, Evans says Wednesday that a 5th person, a 14-year-old girl, was taken to the hospital with symptoms related to anxiety. I can only imagine that. She was not shot.
And the
This,
paper account oddly also stated that he took those shots and it to one person who was unable to move. It
yeah, there was
said,
a muscle some fancy
"Mu-
They froze.
muscle skeletal injury, something like that.
mm-mm,
Um, the shooting happened nearly 1 year to the day after a shooting incident last year. Wilmer Hutchins has security protocols in place which include a clear backpack policy and metal detectors. Though students told the news, the Dallas Morning News, they didn't feel the school had good security. The official for the school said Tuesday that the shooting was not, this is to your point, not a failure of our staff, of our protocols, or the machinery that we have, since the gun did not enter the school during regular intake time. Is that not the most
It's
dopey
it's way
statement?
high on the list. Way
It's
high on the
it's
list.
it's CYA, as they say, and it
Yeah.
makes me sick to hear people in leadership roles evade, elude, run from, hide from taking responsibility. It just drives me crazy. What if it had been 2 minutes before school had opened and that happened? Uh, would he had said the same thing?
I don't know.
And then his parents or his family says, according to an aunt, the shooter was not raised like that. He came from a good family. So, I mean, I don't know, our kids come from a good family. Your kids came from a good family. None of our kids have shot up other people. So this notion that it's like I was watching an interview last night with Taylor Lorenz, who's a former Washington Post journalist, and she's crazy. She was being interviewed by Sean Hannity, and the issue was that she had said, as I think we discussed it the other day, that Luigi Mangione, who cold-bloodedly murdered the CEO of United Healthcare back in December, that he had good morals and that he was an upstanding kid. And so they go on to describe this, Jesus-like character, yet they're in the context that he cold-blooded murdered somebody. This is the same thing. This is a kid who was raised well, good family, blah, 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 ate his Cheerios, went to Boy Scouts, but at 17 years old, walks into a school and shoots people up. My
It,
wife corrected me on musco. I knew
she helped you. She didn't
musculo.
correct you. She helped
She's
you.
not here to say it. Musculoskeletal. There, good enough. Anyway, I just this notion that we write these things off because somebody is handsome and the mass media, general media, national media, whatever you want to call them, awful media, want to describe these people as being. It's like the kid in Frisco. Oh, he's never
Mm-hmm.
done anything wrong. He's got a
Mm-hmm.
4.0. He's got this. He's got that. Well, he brought a knife and big old knife and stuck it into the chest of a kid who in no way possible deserved that.
Scott, would you say, in all the shootings we've had in schools for the last probably 15 years now, eh, the schools don't have much in common in terms of socioeconomic group of the location of that school. There's all types in the world, right?
Yeah, yeah, there are.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I will tell you one thing: Wilmer Hutchins is not a prosperous area.
right. So
So
it's in
you
a
know,
it's a low income. You can only imagine. I mean, I don't want to apply labels to them, but it's the type of school that you could assume without us knowing. So I'm just assuming, not Jeff, but I'm assuming that many of those kids don't have fathers, two
yeah,
parents in the household, that sort of thing. But this is a woman saying, a relative saying he was raised right in a
right.
good family.
And I would venture really back to my first point about which schools have them. There's probably more m- upper middle and middle class and upper class that we've had it more on the high end,
Yeah,
don't you
yeah.
think?
Well, like even going back to 20 something years ago with Columbine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Columbine's in Littleton, Colorado,
Yeah.
and an affluent area. Remember the elementary school up in I can't remember the name of it, starts with an S. Sandy Hook
Yeah.
was a private school for young
Yeah.
children
Yeah.
where 26 of them were killed, and so I just it drives me
Uvalde on the
crazy.
other end was on the low end.
It
But
was, yeah.
it happens at all ends, and you
It
know what?
it
Is it
happens.
not? Is it not enough parenting, or not good enough
Yeah,
parenting?
there's some. I mean, I think it all boils down to some form of mental illness in these people. I'm reminded of the scripture, and I've talked about this before in the Bible. In Proverbs, it says, "Teach a child in the way that he should go, and he'll never depart from it." The church says, well, that means you raise them as a Christian, good Christian
Yeah.
young men, and
Yeah.
they'll never depart from that. My guess is that if we talk to the family of Carmelo Anthony, or we talk to the family of this kid, or any of these, most of these families, they would say we raised him in a Christian home. uh, I don't think that scripture means that. I think it has to do with identifying a kid's passions. If you define those early, they'll never depart from them as they grow older. That I think holds true. You and I are in our 60s. our passions that we had back then are still our passions. Uh, that will never change. That's what that means, I think. But uh, uh, Chuck says, Jeff, too much dismissive going on. First, you got a girl who hits another girl at track meet over the head with a baton. Then the track meet and stabbing reduces exactly our judiciary is run amok, no doubt, and is making society worse in my view. Terry says they're all going to say that he was a good kid. They are, and they do. And Isaac says PR could have done a better job, no doubt. Um, I just, God forbid that ever happen in my family, but we got to stop making excuses. So there you go. That's the update on that. So anything else on by way of updates?
We are
So
updated.
so let's talk about Waxahachie.
A
We
name
don't.
hard to pronounce.
Yes, Waxahachie. I tell my friends who butcher it, walk like a walk. WOKS. Waxahachie. Isaac says stop using the pros to minimize the cons. Uh, I agree. So yeah, there's not enough good in the world. There's not enough good that a person can do to justify murdering an innocent human being. You can't be good enough to justify that. And unfortunately, these judges are doing just that. They're falling into that trap of saying, well, this young man was a good kid. He's handsome. He's sitting in front of me. He's quiet. His family's here. He's supportive and all that. So he doesn't need to feel the full weight of the law.
On the other hand, my friend, I'll play that devil's advocate, although I agree with you completely. We had this conversation before. You cannot allow somebody to do something and criticize them for when they do it. That's a management style, and it becomes a judicial style. And here's the deal: when we've got ranges of penalties for different crimes, and we got ranges of bails, and if uh, I don't know what it takes, but I'm going to tell you one thing: she did not pick a bail that was outside of sentencing
Mhm.
guidelines. And you can take your guideline on the low end or the high end or in between. But again, if that's something we don't like, it's a law we need to change. We
Yeah,
you
I'm
know,
with you.
we
I'm
want
with
to
you.
tighten up our deals, but maybe there is a good reason why it's that wide.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe so. I just think that society, my view is tough love for sure.
Mhm.
And that for us to get back to some normalcy in society, there's got to be a huge dose of tough love. And from our government, particularly with Trump in office now, that's what's happening. Trump doesn't if you don't stop biological men, from participating in girls' sports, I am taking the money away that you get from the federal government, period. And that's what Trump's doing. He's not saying, well, I'll give you half of it or I'll give you a third of it or whatever. He's saying this is the penalty, take it. So anyway, judges need to adjust bail due to GoFundMe. Yeah, that's another good point. That I think I heard somebody in
Mhm.
the Dallas media yesterday say that this Carmelo Anthony's family, it's reached almost $800,000 that they live in an $800,000 home, rent it. They rent it, uh, and they got all this money now.
Rita, my love, if you are watching, I want you to text, I want you to notify us on this deal as to where you heard what I'm about to tell you about what has happened with the family of the shooting victim there.
The victim,
Yeah.
the victim. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
What if I told you that they just bought $1 million house and bought a car for a kid that's on house
Are you
arrest?
talking about the suspect or the victim?
The victim's family
The
just
one who died.
yeah, the one you said that if 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 the conviction came through and it was only manslaughter, you said they should have a civil case for the
Oh, oh, oh,
for
yeah.
whatever
Okay.
money was left
Yeah.
from. I don't know that there's gonna be much GoFundMe money left when they just bought $1 million home and bought a new car for the kid.
Yeah. I don't
I
think
hope she
the GoFundMe that I'm talking about
see if
is
you can
for
find something on that.
the GoFundMe I'm talking about is the killer.
Yeah, I'm talking
And
about.
and you're talking about the victim. Yeah, I mean, we'll play this out because I want to see what all happens.
No, I'm sorry.
You're talking about the suspect.
It was the suspect's
Yeah,
family. It was the suspect's
yeah.
family.
So they well,
See if you can see where that comes from, though.
last night the report was that
Did you hear that too, or not?
that they live in an $800,000 home with a $3,500. They rent it. It's a $3,500 monthly rent. They did buy a new vehicle. They've got this GoFundMe that's now up, I don't know, well over $500,000 that They say this money is for his defense and so on and so forth. It doesn't. It's out of whack. And to Chuck's point, I mean, what is shouldn't there be a law that says if you are a convicted, not based, well, in this case it's an alleged, but he said he did it. Should there be a law that says GoFundMe and other crowdsourcing sites, crowdfunding sites cannot be used
Well,
by a suspect?
yes, my friend.
Okay.
Laws evolve like
Yeah.
language evolves,
Yeah.
and guess what? That hasn't been a need for a law for the multitude of eternity. But now, like I said, laws evolve because things evolve.
Well, yeah. So I'm just
So
going to carry this a little bit further, real quick.
so maybe Brian Harrison can get something
Yeah,
done for
Brian.
you
Well,
on
we're going to talk about Brian Harrison next week.
that.
But let me run this. It's I don't think it's cynicism anymore. So let's say you are your family. You want money, whether you need it or not. You want money.
Right, right.
So you create this little game, and you say to little Johnny, Johnny, go beat somebody up. Don't kill them. Go beat them up. I mean, bad enough that you get arrested and you get in the media, all that, you get the attention. Then we'll come right behind you and say, well, little Johnny's got mental illness. We have struggled with him. He's a beautiful child. He's done so much good, blah, 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 blah. And start a GoFundMe based on that premise and generate hundreds of thousands of bucks.
I think you need
And
to quit writing columns and start writing true crime novels.
well, yeah, actually, I think in theory, maybe not in reality, but certainly in theory, that seems to be what's happening here. This family whose thug son murdered an innocent kid has figured out now, because there's no law against it, that GoFundMe can. There are a bunch of yahoos in America who are willing to give money to this, and we now got a lot of money. We got a lot of money now. Maybe it'll have to be used up in court, in court, but call me crazy. Chuck says some serial killers were ordered death. They write a book. They can't. Yeah, they can't profit off of the proceeds. It has to go to the victims. I agree. That's the way it was with O.J. Simpson,
Mhm.
who wrote a book. Remember the book he wrote? If I Did It.
If
Is that not insane?
in
Anyway, let's switch to some better positive news.
nature trail,
Waxahachie.
yeah.
Yeah, so Waxahachie, we for those of you watching that don't live in Waxahachie, and we certainly have more and more people watching this show that don't live here. Waxahachie is
Come
just 30
visit.
minutes, 30 minutes south of Dallas. We have our own distinct city and community of about 50,000 and growing fast. We have a wonderful park system here. The hub of that, or the mothership of those parks, is Getson Danner Park,
Mm.
which I absolutely love. Sammy and I used to go to that trail and walk, or Sammy would ride his bike, and we
That
would
big
we
wooden
would have a blast.
Chautauqua auditorium,
Yeah, it's
and
nice.
it is well over
Yeah,
125 years
it's
old.
very nice. So the park system in Waxahachie is what all cities like Waxahachie should have. At council this past Monday night, there is a nature trail that has been put together and developed and designed and all of that, largely by a community leader named Bob Lynn, who has spent countless hours designing all the way from the entrance to that walking trail, uh, to the types of indigenous trees and flowers that will be along the trail. So he's really put a lot of work into it and deserves a lot of credit. The Waxahachie Community Development Corporation, WCDC is how we know it. They are responsible for the sports complex and for the civic center. So all the money they generate and get goes to things like this. So Lions Park, which is not far from here, is the new nature trail area, and is council agreed to a number of things. I'm not going to go into a lot of the detail, but the trail will be super, super nice. And for those of you who haven't had a chance to go to Getzendanner or walk any of the parks, Getzendanner is that nature trail from Getzendanner to the viaduct is about, I believe it's about 2.5, 3 miles. It may be closer to 4. I walked it all the way to a viaduct where there are basketball goals, and then turn around and come back to get some dinner, so I can get back home. And it's just awesome. I mean, it's forest, it's concreted in some places. They have a bike, what do you call those bikes? A
Trails,
trail, yeah, the bike. No, they call them something. You laughing at me? They call them. What do they call them, Sammy?
paths,
No, I'm talking about the bike. The bike.
stationary.
Yeah, mountain bike. You can ride up on those. Those are pretty cool. So anyway, our park system is only getting better thanks to WCDC, Bob Lynn, and City Council for proving this to be done at Lions Park. So for those of you that like parks, check out Lions Park. Up there is also the dog park,
Arf, arf.
and it's really nice. So it's on the other side of uh, the bridge area, and I don't know how far it goes. I think it may say in here, but 7 or so miles. But we have a story about it in the Sun. So, any thoughts on you about Waxahachie's parks, amenities?
I think we need outdoor skating rinks for the winter.
You think it's? You think so?
That's what I think about our park system. I think that's something that a lot of communities have done successfully.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's been talk of skateboard parks here.
yeah, that's not. But what I
But you,
wanted, what I want is ice rinks.
as a hockey fan that spent some time in Minnesota, uh,
There's no, Rockefeller Center's got them. I mean, if you went and did a little local research, they're in a minimum of 8 locations here in town. Fort Worth has big ones.
indoor,
McKinney,
outdoor.
outdoor, seasonal outdoor.
You know what? If I
It
tried
is so
literally,
beyond doable.
if
It's
I tried
ridiculous.
to ice skate, Sammy, put your shirt down. Sammy's Sammy's getting a
He's
little pudgy over there, isn't he?
he's carrying a little tire there. I
Sammy's
never
in
saw.
love,
Uh,
and
love tire.
he came to live with us a year ago, and is skinny as a rail. And we're like, you got to gain some weight, brother. And now he's feeling it.
What were you saying? He was saying something, people. Let him get
Chuck,
back
I
to
know
you.
Chuck's gonna weigh in here in a minute, but Sammy was scratching his back and he had his shirt up. Oh my goodness.
They don't care. All
He's
right, what else we
oh
got?
no. So, but I was gonna
So
say something else. Oh, if I tried to ice skate, I know you know how to
right,
ice skate.
right.
I would decapitate myself. I swear to you, I don't get it. I do not get. I watch the hockey guys. I do not get how a sh- a blade can keep up a man that's turning or a woman that's turning almost touching the ice with their
Yeah,
shoulder.
you can't even roller skate.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
It's
no,
I can
miraculous.
roller skate
Have you ever heard it
he
when
broke
somebody
his
to the
goes
hip.
70s music.
when they say a guy lost his edge?
Yeah, because
And
something
have you
weird goes
ever
to the blade.
heard you hear them talk? See, figure skates and hockey skates are completely different. But if you hear them talking in figure skating, um, that she's performing on her outside edge or inside edge, and there's an inside and outside edge, and that's you get your ability to skate by one skate gliding and the other skate doing some amount of pushing.
Yeah,
And but you have to have these things sharp. And in that, there's a little groove in the middle, a hollow groove or a deep groove, and that's what enables you to skate.
I just don't get it.
Yeah,
If I went ice skating, I'd have to have one of those little things that you put in front of you, like you see kids.
the walkers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't you
Uh,
break something roller skating though?
no, rollerblading. I broke my left
Oh,
hip
oh, I thought you
when
were
I
roller
was 40
skating.
years old, 38 years old. Um, Chuck's coming to your defense. You do
I'm
you,
telling my
buddy.
wife I'm about to get my skates back from a place that I went to get them sharpened about two months ago, and then I had a dream the other day that um
Daydream.
I was on ice skates being pulled by a dog.
That's that's a little bit of juxtaposition, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, anyway, there you have it for the park system here. So
Here's Rita. That thing came from Carmelo and
yeah,
his family
yeah, that's it.
press
Yeah,
conference,
yeah, they're raking in the dough. They're
which
raking
was
in the dough, and
delayed after
let me
victim's father showed up, escorted away.
let me tell you something. They're going to find a jury that's going
Thanks,
to
Rita.
justify this for what you call it, self-defense, and this kid's going to get the OJ deal. I'm telling you, drives me nuts. I don't want to get started on that. So I wrote a column Wednesday about China and what Trump, the United States and China are tussling over. The idea for me is that, and I gave, I think, valid reasons for it, that China is playing uh, a they're playing a game that's not going to end well for them. And I've got people responding to my column from across the country saying, well, look at us. We're dealing with tariffs now. China's canceled its Boeing contract, blah, 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 blah. I think that's China trying to negotiate or trying to put pressure on Trump to blink. Trump is not going to blink. And so China, which is largely dependent upon the American markets, can no longer, unless they pay these tariffs, which they are, I assume, um, with whatever they still want to sell here they're playing a game that they're not going to win. And for me, as a patriotic American, and I've been that way since I can remember, I, I have longed for a president to say to any foreign country, namely a titan like China, this is the way it's going to happen. You guys have been screwing us for decades on trade. And why would we do that? Why would there be anybody in America say, we can't do that to China. We can't make this work. We can't put this country at risk. Uh, uh, the second most powerful country in the world, I believe, is China, just to America, the United States. And one charges us tariffs out the, you know what? We don't charge tariffs. And so now Trump's saying, despite presidents out the, you know, have been saying for so long, we're going to have equal trade, we're going to have reciprocal trade, we're going to have fair trade agreements. It's never happened until now.
And along that exact line, from the famous category of what have you done for me lately?
Yeah,
Let me ask you this. Not what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me ever? I want to ask, has China ever been an ally in a war for us as we went to fight
of course
injustice
not.
from World War One
Nothing.
to
No.
Vietnam? No, the answer is no. Number two, what have they ever really done nice for us?
Well,
You know,
well,
Paris gave us a Statue of Liberty. We
yeah.
can think of all, and I'm not saying you buy us with gifts, but really, what has China ever done
Well,
for
let
us?
me answer it this way. One of the issues right now is the mineral raw. I'm not an expert, but the
Rare
raw,
earth,
yeah, rare earth minerals that are used
batteries.
for batteries, for chips, for any number of things that we because of poor leadership over the decades are now reliant on China for. China can answer that question and say, well, we produce things that you have to function as a society. And well, maybe that's true. That doesn't mean we can't start creating them ourselves, which is what Trump is wanting to do by bringing all that back. But but I say that they're not doing anything nice
What
towards it
have they
or
ever done
right.
nice
Yeah,
for us?
that's them not being nice. I think that's how they would
Yeah.
answer it. But
Don't you in your life treat people that do nice?
yeah,
You want to be good to everybody, but the better people are to you, the better you are to them too.
for sure, that's human
It's
nature.
human
Yeah,
nature.
you know what I find it as it relates to human nature is that I surprise myself sometimes for those who have, I believe, have done me wrong in the past.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily feel compelled to do them right. I don't go out of my way to do them right or to help them. But I find myself being really in tune with the principle of mercy. So
Mhm.
if somebody did me wrong a long time ago
Mhm.
and came to me and said, I want to apologize for that, I would, and I have. I would say, look, it's done. Don't let that burden you.
Yeah.
I accept it. Let's move forward.
Right.
And so in that sense, you know, I you want to be, I think we want to be good. I don't think the Chinese government, the Chinese people certainly, I believe are the same, but not the Chinese government. The Chinese government is author
Authoritarian.
dictator and are out for themselves, and they're willing to screw America as long as America is willing to let it happen. And up until now, that's what's happened. And so China gets their butt up on the dashboard when Trump comes and says, "Look, you charge us 34% tariffs. We're going to charge you 34%." Somebody has to explain to me why that's wrong. What's wrong with that?
And let me ask you another question. Are they famous? Speaking of treating people right, are they famous for treating their people right? And the people of China love their government because they're so good and fair. Have you ever heard anything along
No,
those lines?
no,
No,
and they don't treat their people
no,
right.
and they have terrible human rights
Yeah,
violations.
so but you know, you take a country like North Korea that has you talking about oppression and suppression. Those people don't they turn on the TV to channels that the government says you can watch, and it's all government propaganda. They have no you know, the study of North Korea will show you that there nobody has vehicles. Only those in government have vehicles. That's why when you look at any streets over there, their streets are bare. They got nice big buildings, but you don't see people walking around. It that is total suppression and oppression when you contrast that against China, which has the same mental aspect when it comes to being a dictatorship. You do see the hustle and bustle of what you might consider to be capitalism, but it's not. It's capitalism. If it's capitalism, it's for the government. It's so much that goes to the government, and so the people there, uh, I think the people of China say we understand what real capitalism is. We
Yeah.
understand what how America works, and if our government starts playing around such that we have to suffer, we have to go towards the way of life for North Korea, which I think is what it won't be that extreme, but I think the game China's playing is going to result in their economy suffering. It already is, with uh, with all kinds of economic issues that's going to cause the Chinese people to say, "Wait a minute, we're not going to accept this from our government." And I think Chinese people in 2025 are probably as prepared as they've ever been to say to their government, no more. I think they are. And so I think my belief is that Trump believes that and knows it. And so he says, okay, we're going to play this game. It's not going to be America that causes you the problem. It's going to be your own people. Watch and see. That's what I think is happening. And so I say China, yeah, they used to say you could only have a certain number of kids, two in China, and now that's going to come back to bite them because now I think that that's over that that law, and now they're looking at their future generations, which are terribly depleted. Trump knows all this. That's why I was telling you earlier about my columns for the past 3 months have been about understanding, not advocating for Trump per se, but understanding Trump and why it is that I believe he's here now, and that that's divine, and that Trump, despite his flaws, knows what he's doing, and he's got the cards. He said it himself. He's got the cards, and China is learning what that feels like. One aspect of that is that Trump knows at some point the Chinese people are gonna be more in favor of Trump and what he's doing for China or to China than the Chinese people are of their own government. That's what I think that's going to happen. Yeah, they still may have that law. I think it was lifted. We can look that up. But Chuck also says in World War II, America helped China due to Japanese aggression, and I believe the Chinese people helped down America. Yeah, I mean it's China is our enemy. And the other last thing I'll say about this is that Trump also has aligned, as you may have read in the news lately, any of you, that other countries, Japan, India, others, have said at China's request is to sort of team up with us here in China and let's fight these tariffs and what Trump's doing together. Those countries have said no. Now, some countries will team up with China, like Vietnam, Russia. But these other powerhouse countries are saying we're not gonna if we're gonna have a side here, if we're gonna take side, it's not gonna be China because they know how ruthless China is and that China is
You
only
know what?
cares about China.
If I was China talking about the friends they do have, I'd get I'd get a lot cozier with Cuba. I think you can do you could do a lot of good being Cuba right off our coast if you were China
Yeah,
and you wanted to do
I
things.
suspect
You
that
know,
they probably have them. I mean, look what they've done with the Panama Canal.
yeah,
They've essentially taken over the Panama Canal until Hegseth and Trump get in office and
we're working back.
Rubio and say that is no longer going to be the case. That's done. China has going to have nothing to do with the Panama Canal. If China tried to use as a proxy what you're saying, Cuba, I think America would put some serious pressure on Cuba, just like Trump's using Greenland. He wants Greenland for strategic purposes. If there was ever a president who said, "I'm going to where the puck will be, not where the puck is," it's Donald Trump. He knows where it's going, and he's going there to the dismay of 70 million people who don't know shoe polish from grits, um, about what Trump's doing because they hate him so much.
And my fine viewing friends, for those of you who don't know, that was an absolutely brilliant reference by Scott to Wayne Gretzky's quote
That
about
was.
knowing where the puck is going to go,
Yeah.
not where it
So
is.
the columns will continue to be about not advocating as a sycophant or as some groupie of Trump. I am a fan of Trump. He does things that drive me crazy, but I am pro Trump, flaws and all, because I've not met anybody yet who doesn't have flaws, namely yours truly. And so uh, I say, given it all, Trump, if we understood him, if the left stopped for 2 seconds and you stopped hating Trump and just said, okay, I'm taking the blinders off. I'm going to try to look at what Scott is sharing. Just me on a little tiny level about what Trump's doing and why, then maybe I can come to the conclusion that let's give this guy a chance.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing for me on China. All
Sammy
right.
Brooks says we lifted the child law in 2021 in
There you
China.
go.
Yeah.
Very good, Sam.
Okay.
Thank you for that. So yeah, I think they recognize our future is in jeopardy because you don't have kids growing to become leaders and shop owners and
Yeah.
consumers. You're in trouble.
And let's turn the globe and take our conversation to El
Your rant. Oh
Salvador.
no, you got your.
Oh, you want my?
I want your. Let's give a break here on that
Okay.
because we're
All
going to
right.
turn to El Salvador. But let's hear your
All
random
right.
thoughts.
5 random thoughts. Number 1, stated earlier in this show, you pay for what you get. Number 2, when anything is bought or sold, 2 people think they got a good deal. That's in
They
all walk.
should.
They should.
Yeah.
You didn't buy it. You didn't sell it.
Yeah.
Nobody forced you.
Right.
And that applies to the legal. That applies to all of life, really.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
Um, you've got the talking part done.
Yeah.
I say that a lot.
Yeah.
Saying and doing are 2 different things.
No doubt.
Why do shadows only come out in black and white?
That's a good question.
That's just more
Why
fun.
is that? You know, why? Yeah, that's.
They're shades of gray.
I'm
They're shades
sure
of gray. That's just what, you know.
shades of
Let's
gray.
just be happy we ever got from black and white to color.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, but that more the harder thing to figure out is life is in color. So when the ability to take images started, how come the color never came all along in the history of photography
Yeah.
or film or
Yeah.
right?
Imagine having lived your life. I mean,
How did it? That's beyond me.
yeah, I think about generations past.
Yeah.
You know, you think of we watch these shows anymore on TV, and they're about 1923 or way back when, and they're great shows. And I do. I'll stop and say, imagine living in that. This is a great show about Montana in the early 1900s. Imagine living then. You have no running anything. You have no electricity. You have to ride a horse everywhere you go.
You didn't
You,
know any better.
yeah, a trip to anywhere was going to be a day. Uh, you had to kill what you ate, either that or grow it. And I imagine, and then you get to the generation that says, okay, TVs came out, and that was the best, and they're all. But imagine us
And it's
being
black and
forced
white.
to watch black and white,
Yeah, that's
or
weird.
playing for Sammy and the kids, Atari. Remember, we were so excited, ping pong or pong as they
Oh,
called it.
yeah.
All it did was move up and down. You made sure you play that up for hours.
In an arcade,
Oh man, it was awesome.
bowling alley.
Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and
All
all
right.
that stuff.
We digress.
Uh, so anyway, El Salvador.
What
All right,
is
this is
that?
really going to get me riled up, so I'm going to try to control myself. So let me set it up by this.
And we don't have forever.
I know.
Yeah.
But we have a guy in Maryland, a guy with a Hispanic name. The judge in 2019 said he was part of MS-13. A judge 2 or 3 years later said he's part of the gang MS-13. He's got tattoos all over him. Every indication is that he's a part of this gang. He, to be succinct here, he beat up his wife on more than one occasion. He's got a rap sheet that's 3 pages long. Uh, he ends up being corralled with these other thugs that have been sent to El Salvador prison. It's called COSET, which is a nasty. I mean, it's built well and it's clean, but it's you don't have any. They sleep on metal, no blankets, no pillows, nothing, and they're all housed, 80 of them in a one big area with all kinds of cots and bunks. And so this guy in Maryland gets included, sent down there. His paperwork wasn't completely filled out, so in that sense, he was sent there in error. If to get it right, he would be sent back, fill out paperwork the proper way, be put back on that plane and sent back to El Salvador. Is exactly what would happen. All right. The left has gone nuts over this guy. This guy's a thug in the worst way. He lives in Maryland. He's El Salvadorian. He's not American. He's not a Maryland dad, as these clowns keep calling him. He's an El Salvador illegal immigrant in Maryland. So he gets sent to this prison, and then all of a sudden we got these namely Senator Chris Holland from Maryland, who not once has reached out to the family of a young lady, mother of 5 kids, who was murdered last year by an illegal immigrant, not this guy, but another illegal immigrant. This dopey senator has never once reached out to that family, never once said anything to them about his condolences, his compassion, his desire to help them. But he now is pulling a Cory Booker, who's all about virtue signaling and all this other stuff, goes down, videotapes himself at the airport yesterday morning, going to El Salvador, gets lands the plane, gets on the bus or whatever, takes him to the prison, videotaping himself. I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to rescue this Maryland dad and bring him back home where he belongs, and blah, 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 blah. He gets to the prison. The president of El Salvador, who is a big Trump buddy, they call each other Mr. B and Mr. T, or President B and President T. He's not in the country in El Salvador, so this Van Hollen meets with the vice president of El Salvador. Van Hollen, the senator, wants to go to the prison to meet with whatever the guy's name is, and or talk to him on the phone, and or meet with him outside the prison. And the vice president of El Salvador essentially says, not a chance. That's happening. That is not happening. So this guy goes all the way down there on this publicity stunt that makes him look like the biggest you know what around, and all in the name of bringing back a MS-13, one of the two worst gangs on the planet, to he's a Maryland dad back home. His home is El Salvador. He's a thug. It is beyond my ability to comprehend why these senators and why these idiots cannot figure out how stupid, not that they look, but that they are.
Scott, you've spent a little time selling in your life, and in selling or in business or in so many facets of life. If you're gonna go to see somebody important for an appointment, important reason, you do
Make sure he's
always have
there.
an appointment. You always have an appointment.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's the same as
uh,
in a court of law. You don't ask a question that you don't know the answer to.
yeah, yeah.
Remember O.J. Simpson, the trial? Chris Darden doesn't know whether or not the gloves are going to fit on O.J. Simpson. He knows that O.J. Simpson wore those gloves, but those gloves had been bloodied. They'd been sitting around. They were leather. They crinkled up and they shrunk, just like a baseball glove would do, just like our
Right.
golf gloves do. Chris Darden didn't make sure that those in the courtroom in front of the jury, that those gloves were going to fit on O.J. Simpson's hands. But he went ahead and said, like Van Hollen didn't know that he was going
If
to,
it doesn't fit, you
he
must have
didn't,
quit.
yeah. So Van Hollen didn't seem to know that he was going to be rebuffed which makes me believe either he did know it and went total publicity stunt, or he did bother to ask, which makes him a, you know what, as dumb as dirt, just like Chris Darden. That case was over the minute those gloves did not fit on OJ. It's because Chris Darden didn't know the answer to the question he was going to ask. Van Hollen went down there either not knowing that he was going to be told no and therefore look like a fool, or he did know they were going to say no and he went anyway, acting like he didn't. And so he just proves to be another unethical, cheesy, slimy senator. And so what I say is Trump isn't going to, I wouldn't either. Trump is not going to be swayed. If you are an illegal immigrant, and last night on the news, you know how I like to check out the hate side of the news, like Matt Al and others. She interviewed Van Hollen last night and characterized it as Maryland dad, you know, uh, uh, works, uh, hasn't committed any crime. And I've heard other interviewers say that this guy hasn't committed any crime. He's an illegal immigrant. So what about that do you not get? When you use the word illegal, it means a crime has been committed, and I, I just don't understand. I need a defibrillator.
Yeah.
Um. Anyway, all right. So there you go, El Salvador. Soquet, Co, Soquet, something like that. That's the
Game,
prison.
set, match.
All right. Let's hear your poem,
We're
brother.
gonna take a chill pill here. All
I
righty.
need a drink, a real drink.
I haven't done repeats of very many of my poems that I've done it on the show more than once, but this is a little bit timely because, like I tell my kids, you can write a poem about anything whenever you want, anytime.
Yeah,
But who's writing a poem about Thanksgiving and Easter in one poem?
do it.
Who's got the
The
commonality? Here we
man.
go. Big Kid. Pumpkins and Easter eggs. Two of my favorite things. Again, again, and again. My twice yearly flings. As a youngster, I did learn what makes a jack o' lantern. Put a knife in a pumpkin and carve a big grin. When eggs get their dye, recall how Christ did die, not of Judas's deception. Rather think of the resurrection. My wife calls me a big kid. Yes, my life I redid. She's not being critical, no, simply analytical. It's a compliment I do say. Frankly, it makes my day. Give me an Easter egg or pumpkin. Yes, you may call me a bumpkin.
Very good.
Just a big
You know,
kid.
the thing about this weekend for me, you hear obviously we know tomorrow's Good Friday. Christ was crucified. We know, and there are songs, there are pastors all over this country that will have lessons this weekend about Sunday's coming, and I love it. This Sunday's coming, and that's the resurrection. You know what is not often talked about? It's Saturday. So
Good Friday, Holy
yeah,
Saturday.
but what? Nothing happened on Saturday.
That's when he was hanging in the womb, in the tomb, behind the rocks, dead and crucified. And that night is when he's going to get up,
I'm talking
ro-
about the people.
roll those rocks
Yeah,
out, and Sunday.
I'm talking about the people living then
Oh,
who were watching this happen.
they're in
And
disbelief or
they
in joy.
Friday, the worst thing that they could ever imagined happened, right? And for those in that part of the Middle East saw it and witnessed it. The others, and so that word spread the way that it did back then. Then on Sunday, Jesus is risen from the dead, and people come to understand that after their shock and awe, and that word travels fast. But Saturday is I hate to, I'm not going to belittle it with, I'm not intending to belittle it with a modern day kind of little analogy, but let's just say last week we were watching the Masters, and it was a it was a tournament we love, but there was gonna it Friday it there was the round and we saw great things. We anticipating for the final day Sunday or Saturday, but nothing happened on Saturday. And so we're sitting there saying, Saturday, what nothing's going on. And so these people sat there and in their minds, Jesus was gone. He was gone. They had no idea. So Saturday is something the message for about Saturday is that just be patient
Sure.
for us. Just be patient. When it
patient.
seems so quiet, just be patient. And those people had to be. And lo and behold, on Sunday, he rose from the dead. Amazing stuff. All right. I'm coming off an 11-0.
Yeah, and
Need I
I,
remind
I I
you?
had a hot 12-0, and today I pulled a 7-2, and I hope you can too.
All right. Well, let's go. Sammy, you ready?
I was born ready.
All right.
Some 1,400 CIA trained Cuban exiles launched the Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba in an attempt to topple Fidel Castro, whose forces crushed the incursion within 3 days.
1922.
1961.
1961.
The year you were
Booyah.
born.
I
That's right.
wanted it for the bonus. I had 62. Good job. Way to get.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I was torn. Jerry Mock completed the first solo around the world flight by a woman, landing her single engine Cessna plane in Columbus, Ohio, after a 29-day journey. That doesn't mean she was in the air straight 29 days, up and down and up and down and around the world.
1968.
1973.
1964.
Ah,
Oh, man, I missed it by that much.
that's one.
Chuck got the first one right.
A jury in Los Angeles convicted Sirhan of assassinating
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
bonus.
Come on, Sam.
Sirhan's death sentence would be commuted to life
Yeah.
in prison
Yeah.
with the possibility of parole.
Yeah.
He remains in prison
Yes, he does.
today.
Yes, he does.
Since this date, that's a long time in prison.
That had to be
1981.
19. Is it the question? When did it happen? When was he
When
convicted?
when was he convicted?
Yeah. 1970.
That's what I thought too, because he was killed in 69.
Oh man, yeah. Like,
But
when
but
did
you
trial quit back
you
then?
get your bonus on the Robert Kennedy.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Very good.
All right. Apollo 13
Chuck's
astronauts
doing good too.
James A. Lovell, Fred W. Hayes, and Jack Swigert splashed down safely in the Pacific 4 days after a ruptured oxygen tank crippled their spacecraft. While en route to the moon,
That has to be 84.
78.
that's 70 even.
Oh, wow. You missed it by one.
I missed it by that much.
We had a Boston Marathon. Don't let that confuse you at all. This has nothing to do
With the bombing.
with the bombing in
Okay.
1913. The Boston Marathon allowed women to compete for the first time. Nina Hushik was the first officially recognized women's champion with a time of 3 hours, 10 minutes, 28 seconds. The men turned in at about 2:06.
1972.
No, you went. Oh yeah, well, 1986.
1972.
Sammy got the
I
bonus.
got the bonus.
Got the
I got a
bonus.
loss.
Let's go.
Dang.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed above 3,000 for the first time, ending the day at 3,004 and 46 cents, up $17 for the day.
What did you just say?
Gosh.
The Dow Jones Average broke 3,000 for the first time.
1983.
1994.
For comparison, it's at 40 right now.
Yeah,
1994.
1994.
I had 83.
91.
I
Yes.
missed it again by one. Dang.
Let's go.
I'm 4-4.
A federal jury.
Is this the last one?
This is your last question.
Pressure's on.
A federal jury in Los Angeles convicted two former police officers of violating the civil rights of beaten motorist
Rodney King.
Rodney King. And I said it while she was reading it, and she said that's not bonus worthy because it was too easy.
Well, she's got a point.
And
Ease up, Rita.
two other officers were acquitted.
2017.
No, 1995.
93.
We didn't get the 2000s.
No.
We did not. I mean, we didn't even start till 61.
Yeah, that
Rita
was
and I said
amazing.
that's the shortest gap we ever
Boy.
had.
Chuck did good too. Chuck's on a roll. All right, so there you have it. Our 57th show is in the bag. We got one last video to show you. We like to talk about the grit, and we have the good news that we close with every week. So, Sammy, tell me when you're ready. And let me set this up. Let me set this up because you won't know it unless I tell you. This is a video of a high school baseball game. The pitcher and the batter, so they're on opposing teams, are best friends. This is for the state championship. Runners are on base. If the batter gets a hit, his team wins. If he doesn't, they lose. But remember, they're best friends, and watch what happens.
We're supposed to be friends forever.
Is that not awesome? I'd say to Jeff, if you were batting and I was the pitcher, I'd do the same thing. That kid, he pushed his catcher aside, who wanted to give him a big hug, straight to his best friend who had struck out to console him. Pretty awesome, huh? All right, so there you have it. That's the good news.
2 minutes long. I hope you like the whole thing. And remember, don't try to write a check that you can't cash.
Wait. I'm excited for that, Chuck. I don't know. I need to look into that, but yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thank y'all. See ya. Bye.